this is Emma.
And Michaela.
And you're listening to
Sleeping in Park, where we talk about our trips and tips to visiting beautiful places.
Follow along as we learn and share stories about our public lands and stops along the way. So Michaela just laughing because I almost forgot to say sleeping in park.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
Well, because there's been more than once where I said sleeping
so
in
true.
park by
That's
myself.
true.
I just think it's funny.
That one day would be redoing.
Oh my gosh.
We had to
record
the mini-series. We had to re-record it like 3 times for one episode because I just kept not saying sleeping in park.
Well, and then we also had to like, I just could not keep it together.
Yeah, that's true. You kept laughing.
Well, because after you say the same thing so many times over and over
It's
in
like-
the same like 2 minutes,
I feel not mentally okay.
I
Like the
feel
words are
ridiculous.
wrong.
And then I'm just like,
They're not English.
bleh.
That's how I feel right now. So that's too bad because we just started and I have like 8 pages to read you. That's okay. So this is Devil's Tower National Monument. It was our country's first national monument, and it was established in 1906, and it is Wyoming. If you didn't know that, Devil's Tower National Monument is in Wyoming.
Yeah.
It's in the little northeast corner, kind of in the Black Hills, actually.
Yeah. Devil's Tower is basically like a giant stump-like formation. It at the top, it's 1,200 feet above the Forsh River,
Which is also 1,200 feet above sea level. But
Yeah.
it's about, because the ground kind of like goes up around it, so it's actually only 847 feet or something above.
67.
Oh,
I think it's
67 feet above the ground that it's standing on.
Yeah.
And I actually thought this was really cool, but I read that the idea of a sister park relationship, and the National Park Service lists over 40 of these connections of sister parks, apparently, which I did not know about. Which one did we learn had a sister park? It was one in the year in the parks, wasn't it? It was one we haven't visited, I think, like ourselves.
Yeah, because there was 2 sister parks. I don't remember.
That's okay. But it has a sister park for this monument has been suggested for Uluru, I think is how you pronounce it, and it's in Australia. And the reasoning behind it was it's a similar type of park where it has very deep indigenous ties.
Oh, yeah.
And it also has, nature.
Very cool.
I thought that was kind of interesting. In a park map.
Yeah.
So down in the southeast corner is the Prairie Dog Town and the picnic area with the Belle Fourche River Campground. And then Devil's Tower is right in the middle, along with the Visitor Center.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's pretty easy to find your way around.
Yeah, it's not a complicated park, no. But some geology for you. So it's a pretty unique structure, the way it was built, and it has distinct columns of rocks that make up the tower, which has always been pretty interesting to me because, we've never seen anything else like it.
Yeah, very true. And they're very parallel. They're very straight columns.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
And they make themselves distinct. You can see the individual columns as you're looking at it. The formation dates back to the Jurassic period, which was 225 to 195 million years ago. And during this time, North America was underwater, and deposits of sand, silt, clay mixed together with iron-rich materials, which gave some of the rocks in that area the red color we see today. So it's like not the Devil's Tower itself, but the area around it. So like if you're going hiking, you'll be able to see a lot of these red rocks. And then the gray rocks above the Gypsum Springs Formation are the oldest part of the Sundance Formation. And you can see those on the connector trail between Joyner Ridge and the Red Beds trails. And then I think we've touched on the difference between weathering and erosion a little bit in a different episode, but weathering is basically when the rocks break apart, and erosion is when the rocks actually move. Wind and water can both contribute to the process, but the mechanisms are a little bit different. And so the tower itself is full of natural cracks from columnar joining. That's what it's called when they did the thing. And It's formed by emplacement of molten rock, which is when a thick flow of lava erupts onto the surface, and then cooling and contracting happens, which is so as the molten rock solidifies and it cools further, it shrinks in volume, and the thermal contraction induces tensional stress in the rock mass. And then the initiation of the cracks, so the joints, the cracks begin to form at the cooling centers on the primary cooling surfaces, so at like the top and the bottom of the lava flow. And then crack propagation, which is the most efficient way for the rock to relieve this stress. So it's by forming the three fractures that intersect at 120-degree angles, which naturally creates the hexagonal pattern and cracks then inward to form the parallel columns. And then over thousands, yeah, it was an interesting process. So then
it was an interesting process.
Over thousands of years, the interconnected cracks divide the entire rock body into a mosaic of tightly packed columns. And then when water seeps into those cracks and freezes, the ice expands, and it makes the formations crack even more, and then sometimes eventually they'll fall apart. And then those fallen parts contribute to the giant boulder field that surrounds the tower. And then plants contribute in a similar way. So instead of water seeping in there and then freezing and the ice expanding, their roots will do a similar thing where it kind of wedges itself in there into the cracks and can make them fall apart. And then the west and the south faces of the tower are the most exposed to sunlight and storm systems, and those also contribute to weathering and the erosion process. And then also, this is really interesting. No one has actually ever recorded seeing an entire column fall all at once, but
but that would be a lot.
Yeah, but there have been ones that are recorded like as big as a bus falling all at once.
Wow.
And like that's crazy. But also how cool would it be to see a whole one fall all at once? I don't even know.
Well, and I know that now they track that stuff, but like back 80 years ago when they were first rock climbing that.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you were rock climbing and just columns were just falling?
No.
That's terrifying.
Crazy. Yeah. Oh. And I have some questions for you.
Oh, okay.
What is at the top of the tower? A, nothing, it's just flat. B, the columns like stick up in places. C, some plants and grasses. Or D, trees.
I'm gonna say C because I know that there's for sure some grass up there.
Yeah, it's pretty well.
They actually have animals up there.
A is also that's true. They do, but it's like a mix of A and C. It's pretty much flat on the top with some plants and shrubs.
Yeah, there are some boulders up there, though, I believe, because in my rescue story that I was looking at, I read that there's a boulder up there. So.
And then, how big is the boulder field around the base of the tower?
Okay.
10, 11, 12, or 13 acres.
Oof, that's tricky, because I know the top of the tower is 1 acre. So, I don't know how that helps me in the rest of it. And the whole park is like 2 square miles. It's a small monument. Okay, and the boulder field, it's pretty big. And you said 10, 11, 12, or 13?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those are all similar, so that doesn't help me at all.
Well, yeah.
Okay, I'll just go 12.
It's 13.
Oh my goodness.
It's 13.
I really try to use my logic that I know, and it didn't work. All your answers were too close.
Because we've been there before and we've seen it. So.
Wow. That's actually bigger than I thought it was going to be, though.
Yeah.
Not going to lie. I did not think that was going to be 13.
I know, same.
I mean, it's pretty big.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty,
but also
that includes the tower, too, though, right in the middle. So, like, I'm guessing that's drawing a square around the whole boulder field. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. These are some good questions. So, I did the human history, and while I was researching the human history at this park, I found multiple books about this park.
Oh my goodness!
I used both. So I used the History of Devil's Tower National Monument book, and then the updated version of that. So those are both published. I believe one was published in 1956, and one was published in 1987. Roughly those years.
Wow. Yeah.
And then also the Devil's Tower National Monument Historic Resource Study, which is like
That's a
300
mouthful.
pages. I didn't read the whole thing of that, but I was like, wow, there's a lot of good stuff in here.
Yeah.
My questions are going to be different.
Oh boy.
Because I have
that's right.
pages.
That's right.
So
You've been telling
you
me
have
about
to
this.
do.
It's like a
we're gonna-
comprehension thing,
Yeah.
which
we're gonna
I
do retain.
sucked at in school.
Oh my gosh, I was like, if I'm gonna put all this, I already did the research. We're not taking anything out
Yeah.
because I already looked into
Yeah.
it. I don't want to turn any of this into questions. I already wrote it all into paragraphs and everything like that. So I thought, what's way better than just guessing is actually knowing if we learned something about the park.
Crap.
So we're gonna see if Kayla learns anything.
Oh, I promise. I'm paying attention. I'm just terrible with retaining information when I hear it.
This is a lot of history, so for anyone who gets bored of history, I'm really sorry if you get bored, but it's really interesting.
Because even from like the little bit of like that I know already about it, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Evidence of people goes back 10,000 years, with early Native Americans using it as a sacred site, and they called it Mateo Teepee, which means Grizzly Bear Lodge. They had different tribes had different names for it too, but that was one of the most common ones. The Kiowa tribe who lived in the region, their oral history of how this monument was formed or how the rock in the monument was formed, was one day 7 little girls were playing away from the village and were chased by bears. The girls ran toward their village, and right when the bears were about to get them, the girls jumped onto a small rock only a few feet off the ground, and one of the girls prayed, "Rock, take pity on us. Rock, save us." And then the rock began to elongate upward, pushing the girls higher and higher out of the bear's reach. And the bears jumped at them and scratched the rock, breaking their claws on the rock and falling back to the ground. The rock kept pushing the girls up, with the bears still jumping, and the bears' scratches turned to stone, which is how
the columns. Interesting.
And the girls are still in the sky. There are 7 little stars in a group, and this constellation is called Pleiades. And in the winter, in the middle of the night, the 7 stars are right over the high point, so over the flat part of the rock. And when people came to look, they found the bear's claws turned to stone around the base as the rocks, is what they say.
Oh.
So that's how the boulder field is there. The Cheyenne, so they believe there were 7 brothers, and the wife of the eldest brother went out to fix the smoke wings of her teepee, and then a bear carried her away to his cave. And her husband mourned her loss greatly and cried out against the bear. And the youngest brother of the 7 was called a medicine man, and he was thought to have powers. And the youngest told the oldest to go out and make a bow with 4 blunt arrows. The youngest brother then told everyone that they would go out after the bear. Once at the entrance of the cave, the youngest brother told the others to wait, and he turned himself into a gopher to dig a hole in the bear's den. And then he crawled into the hole and found the bear lying with his head in the woman's lap. He then put the bear to sleep and turned back into himself. He told the woman to crawl up the hole back to the brothers, and then the hole closed. And after they hurried away, the bear woke up and chased after them all, and all of the other bears followed because this bear was the leader of all the bears.
Okay.
And so the youngest brother told the others to close their eyes. And they began to sing a song, and once he finished singing, he carried a rock with him. The rock had grown. He sang 4 more times, and when he was finished, the rock was the size that it is today. And the bears reached the tower, and the brothers killed all the bears except the leader, who was jumping against the rock with his claws and made marks that are still in the rock today.
I feel like that's going to be a theme.
It is a theme. And the youngest brother shot 2 black arrows and a red arrow, but missed the leader of the bears, the bear that originally took the eldest brother's wife.
Yeah.
But the last red arrow killed the bear. The brother then made a sound like an eagle, and 4 eagles came while they held the eagle's legs, and they were all carried to the ground. And after that, the bear woman made this big rock her home. So the Cheyennes call it Bear Lodge.
So the bear, did she just like live on top of the rock then?
I just said she called the rock her home. Okay. So I don't know, because they were carried down by the eagles. Yeah. So I believe that she just lived by the rock.
By it?
Oh, yeah. And so then we have the Arapaho tribe, and the father of an Arapaho lodge, who was a head lodge, and there were 7 children, 5 boys, 2 girls. The two girls had made an arrangement between themselves that the one who found the end rib bone of the bison should receive the most favors from the brothers. The boys often made their trips to other tribes, and after a long search, one of the girls found an end bone of the bison. Picking it up, she turned into a bear and made some big scratches on her sister's back. And the bear's sister told her sister, "If you tell, the dogs will howl, and this will be a signal so I will know that you have told." And the sister did tell her brothers, and when they heard the dogs howl and gave the signal, they were scared and started to run. The bear girl heard the signal and ran after them, and the girl who had told was carrying a ball in her hand. So the girl that, if you didn't
That got scratched,
okay.
yeah.
Yep. Okay, I just want to make sure you got
Yep.
that. Was carrying a ball in her hand, and she dropped it and accidentally kicked it. And the ball bounced up on a big high rock. And the bear girl reached over her sister's shoulder to grab the ball and slipped and made very big scratches on the rock that the ball fell on. And then fell on her sister and broke the sister's chest. The bear girl climbed to the top of the big high rock and told her family that there would be 7 stars in the shape of a diamond that would appear in the east. She said, the first star out would be off to one side and would be brighter than the other stars. And the first star would be called Broken Chest Star. From this time on, the Arapahoes called the big high rock Bear's Teepee. And now we have the crows. Once, when some crows were camped at Bear's house, which is what it's also called,
Yeah.
2 little girls were playing around some big rocks there, and there were a lot of bears living around the big rock, and one big bear, seeing the girls alone, was going to eat them. The big bear was just about to catch the girls when they saw him, and the girls were scared, and the only place they could get was on the top of the rocks around which they had been playing, and the girls climbed the rock, but still the bear could catch them. The Great Spirit, seeing the bear was about to catch the girls, caused the rock to grow up out of the ground, and the bear kept trying to jump to the top of the rock, but he just scratched the rock and fell down to the ground. The claw marks are on the rock now, and the rock kept growing until it was so high that the bear could not get the girls. And the 2 girls are still on top of the rock. The crow believed. And in the Lakota tribe, long ago, there was a brave warrior who often went alone into the wilderness, where he would fast and worship the Great Spirit in solitude. Being alone helped him to strengthen his courage so that in the future he could carry out his plans. And one day this warrior took his buffalo skull and went alone into the wilderness to worship. Standing at the base of the Mato Tipala, after he had worshipped for 2 days, he suddenly found himself on top of this high rock. He was very much frightened, as he did not know how he would get down. And after appealing to the Great Spirit, he went to sleep. When he awoke, he was very glad to find that he was again at the base of this high rock. He saw that he was standing at the door of a big bear's lodge, as there were footprints of a very big bear there, and he could tell that the cracks on the big rock were made by the big bear's claws. So he knew that all the time he had been on top of this big rock, he had been standing on a big bear's lodge. And then they went there often to worship. And the buffalo skull is still on top of this big high rock and can be seen at the highest point. And those are all of the tribe histories that I have. And now we're going to get into the kind of year by year.
Yeah.
But first, one more thing before we get into that. Okay, so though it's not currently an issue at the monument, gypsum karst creates unstable conditions in the Black Hills region. And I hadn't heard of this, but the gypsum spring formation, which is present around the tower, has caused engineering problems and sinkholes in South Dakota.
Oh.
The nearby Board Buffalo Jump is a sinkhole formed as a result of the highly erodible and dissolvable gypsum layers characteristic of this region. During late prehistoric period around 500 years ago, native groups developed buffalo hunting technology 40 miles to the east of the tower in the vicinity of, which is today Sundance, Wyoming.
Yeah.
And they used the Boar Buffalo Jump, a natural sinkhole, over a period of at least 250 years. And they to kill around 4,000 bison, and it contained a significant amount of buffalo bone and stone artifacts buried under layers of sediment.
Wow.
That came up in the book about Devil's National Monument. I'm not sure if it was just because it was so close. It was also said that they didn't find a lot of artifacts like around the base of the tower.
Yeah.
They found some evidence of Native American tribes living near the Belfort River that was close to the tower, but mostly that they just traveled to the tower.
Yeah.
From close by. Like they lived close, but they went there ceremonially.
Yeah.
Okay. And then So this was kind of interesting fact, because sometimes I forget that before European settlers came, that the Native American tribes actually used to fight each other all the time, and they were like, I forget that.
So do I.
But so 1920s to 1930s, Cheyenne and Lakota were in the same region and were allied against the Kiowa and Crow, who began to withdraw from the Black Hills in the 1820s.
Oh.
From 1805 to 1877, Arapahoes, Cheyenne, and Lakotas were the only populations regularly occupying the Black Hills area. And then the Sitting Bull refers to the Black Hills as a treasure and an essential food pack for the people in times of drought and scarcity. Bison, as the bison retreated to the lush microclimate of the hills for pasturage, which I did not know that the Black Hills was kind of an oasis sometimes when there were droughts. And so the Lakota people would follow. By the 1830s, the Black Hills were the dominion of the Lakota. And the hills are milder in the winter than the surrounding plains, and steeps that enabled plains people to thrive, which I also did not know, that the winters were milder there. And so when the government withheld rations in deals that they had made with the tribes, Black Hills provided for the Native American people and was also sacred to them.
That's cool.
Yeah. And the story of the Black Hills is mirrored kind of in the story of Devil's Tower, in some of the war we learned about there, and the gold rush we learned about in Custer State Park in the Black Hills area. Some of that will come through in here. So by the 1860s, primarily within the Sioux territory, the last tribe to own Devil's Tower, the agency confirmed that it was originally Sioux territory and was so recognized by Article 16 of the treaty with the Sioux Nation of April 29, 1868. So technically Sioux was the last tribe to own it. The Treaty of 1868 guaranteed this region to the Indians. 1874 was when General Custer led an expedition into the Black Hills reporting the discovery of gold, and the government attempted to negotiate with the indigenous people to purchase the Black Hills. And the negotiations broke down in 1875 when miners and settlers flooded the area, as we learned more about this in the Custer State Park episode. Many believed that they would lose the reservations they lived on. There was a war started against the government, and following the Battle of the Little Bighorn, most of the Native Americans lost their land in Wyoming and Black Hills. But for several years after, there were a few smaller groups that wandered through the region still. It was thought that multiple expeditions passed through the area, but none noted the tower. So multiple European Americans passed through, as we learned about expeditions from Yellowstone, if you remember that.
Yep.
So in 1859, members of Captain W.F. Reynolds' Yellowstone expedition, they believe, visited Bear Lodge or Devil's Tower. When Captain W.F. Reynolds' Yellowstone expedition passed through the Black Hills region, T. Hutton, a topographer, and the Sioux interpreter Zephyr Racontre on July 20th reached the tower and returned to the expedition's camp on the Little Missouri River. Neither Warren nor Reynolds, however, left descriptions of the tower. They think that they were the first European Americans who saw the tower, so they were in the area.
Yeah.
And they saw it, but they didn't describe the tower. Do the normal
they
geological
didn't, oh, this is a cool random tower that's sticking up in the air.
Especially when you hear how the next person that saw this describes it. Okay, so the U.S. Geological Survey Party called attention to the tower in 1875, with Colonel Richard Doge, a commander of the military escort, said, "One of the most remarkable peaks in this or any country."
Wow.
He led the military expedition sent to confirm reports of gold being discovered in the Black Hills and to survey the area. Scientists then thought that Devil's Tower was the core of an ancient volcano, but recent data suggests it is instead an igneous intrusion, which is generally credited with giving the formation's present name. In his book entitled The Black Hills, published in 1876, he called it Devil's Tower. And we said this in our first trip recap.
Yes.
Was that...
That's why I was like, I could not think of it. I was like, why would I have known this stuff? I remember doing the research for it, but we haven't done an episode on it. It's because
we did like 3 fun facts.
Yes, that's right.
And it's because the Indians call this shaft the Bad God's Tower, a name adopted with proper modification by our surveyors. Newton, whose published work on the survey appeared in 1880, claimed that the name Bear Lodge, Mateo Teepee Bear Lodge, is one of many American Indian names for the tower, and it appears on the earliest map of the region, and though more recently it is said to be known among the Indians as the Bad God's Tower, or in better English, the Devil's Tower. The former name, well applied, it's still retained. So, however, since this time, the name Devil's Tower has been generally used. Geologists have still, in some instances, continued to use the original name. His interpreter reportedly mistranslated a Native American name, possibly related to a bear. So, which as we've learned in our oral histories, is Mateo Tipola or Bear Lodge into something negative like Bad God's Tower, which Dodge then adapted to Devil's Tower, solidifying the name despite its questionable origins and sacred indigenous meaning. So that is how that changed.
Yeah. It was a misinterpretation. That's crazy. And then it just stuck?
Yeah.
That's insane.
It is. In the early 80s, white settlers came into the area, and most of them, small-scale farmers and ranchers, occupied some of the land in the area most available to the land around Devil's Tower. But the largest amount of land was occupied by railroads, and they were being extended through the area through the late 80s and 90s. The tower can be seen from several points along the railroad, which is why it is believed that the railroad may have been some influence in the movement to give the area a national protection. And in 1890, in August, the General Land Office issued an order to reject all applications for the land the tower stands on. Support grew for the idea of preserving the tower as a national or state park. In February 2, Senator Francis E. Warren of Wyoming wrote the commissioner of the General Land Office asking him for assistance in preserving Devil's Tower and the Little Missouri Buttes that are really close to it, which I actually mentioned later. So I might answer your question. But the land office issued an order setting aside 60.5 square miles, which included both the tower and the Little Missouri Buttes, as a temporary forest reserve. This reserve was reduced in June of 1892 to 18.75 square miles, and Senator Warren introduced a bill in the United States Senate for the establishment of Devil's Tower National Park, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, and acting on the advice of the General Land Office, the senator requested in his proposal that 18.75 square miles, or 1,974 acres, include both Devil's Tower and the Little Missouri Buttes, be set aside for the park. Unfortunately, Congress took no action on the bill. And it was not until 14 years later that Devil's Tower became a national monument. Following the passage of the Antiquities Act in June of 1906, Frank W. Mundell was a member of the later chairman of the important House Committee on Public Lands. And it was apparently as a result of his influence that President Theodore Roosevelt on September 24, 1906, proclaimed Devil's Tower a national monument under the new Antiquities Act. His action made Wyoming the home to both the first national park, Yellowstone, in 1872, and the first national monument. The Little Missouri Buttes were not included in the monument. According to several geologists, the Little Missouri Buttes share their geologic story with the tower. These four buttes sit about 3.5 miles to the northeast of the tower and are named after the Little Missouri River that has its headwaters nearby. Two of the buttes are higher in elevation than the tower and can be seen in the distance when gazing from the northwest side of the monument grounds. Mm-hmm. They are composed of the same rock and exhibit columnar jointing, just like Michaela taught us about, but according to the National Park Service, lack the definitive appearance and grandeur of Devil's Tower. What? They are on private land today, but can be seen from the monument from further away.
Okay, but I thought that we had heard something, or when we were at Devil's Tower, was there not something that said that those were like sister towers?
Yeah, well, because I think they are.
Okay.
Because it's the same type of rock.
Yeah.
And things like that. There's been a petition going actually for a long time to get them. Ever since they weren't included, people have wanted. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And I
think I remember this, but maybe I'm going crazy.
Yeah. It's because they're like the same thing. I think so they're just less. You know how the Devil's Tower is straight up? I think they're a little bit more of like a normal mountain rock kind of thing, or it's still a butte with like a flat top.
Yeah,
but I think it's not as much straight out of the ground like that.
Okay, yeah.
Even though two are technically taller, I think it's more like starting at the base, kind of like how we talked about how it's actually 1,200 feet above sea level, even though the tower is 867 feet. Oh, we're getting into the fun stuff now. Though. Okay, none of the rest wasn't fun, but this part's really cool. 4th of July, 1893, there was a celebration with food, drink, hay for the horses, and dancing through the night. But the main attraction was William Rogers, a local rancher who would be the first to climb the tower. With the help of another local rancher, Willard Ripley, they prepared a 350-foot ladder to summit the tower.
A ladder?
Just wait. They drove bags through cut wood into the continuous vertical crack that they found on the southeast side of the formation. And before making the ascent, they wanted to plant a flagpole at the top, which actually that was really cool on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
But the wind had ripped the flag and fell to the ground. So some thought that actually building the ladder was more dangerous than climbing the tower itself. So people came from over 100 miles away to witness this, with over 1,000 people coming from horseback and wagon, with most of them having to travel multiple days to see this. And then the tower became a 4th of July meeting place for families from area ranches who might see each other, but only once a year. And then others were soon to climb the tower by Rogers Ladder. On July 4th, 1895, Miss Rogers duplicated her husband's climb 2 years later and became the first woman to reach the summit, which I thought was so cool.
That's adorable.
Yeah.
I love that they did that as a couple.
I know. And it was estimated that 25 people later made the ascent of the tower by Rogers Ladder. The last to reach the top by this means was Babe White the human fly in 1927. Much of the ladder had since been destroyed. However, a portion of it may still be seen on the southwest side of the tower. A viewing device on the tower trail assists the visitors to locate the remnants of the ladder still.
That's so. I was actually just gonna ask about that.
Yeah.
If it's still parts of it are still there. That's cool.
And oh my goodness, we're in the early 1900s already.
Woo!
This hasn't been dry, has it? I've actually really enjoyed it. I was gonna say I didn't know if it would be too much because it's a lot of history.
It's a lot.
And I went like in depth into like chronological years.
Like a lot to talk about.
A lot of stuff happened here.
Yeah,
apparently. I feel like a lot of stuff maybe happened other places and I just didn't find books about it.
That's true.
I cannot believe how many. Anyway, okay. So in the early 1900s, the first full-time National Park Service employee was stationed here, with part of their job being to prevent vandalism and removal of objects. People were chipping the tower to get a souvenir. This story spread east and grew support for the monument.
Good.
Yeah, because I was like, what? But Congressman Mondale attempted to persuade the government to develop the monument as a tourist attraction. In February of 1910, he introduced a bill providing an appropriation to build an iron stairway from the foot of the summit to Devil's Tower, which is crazy.
That would be so cool.
The proposal didn't pass Congress. He introduced 2 more similar bills, but none passed. He also tried to convince the director of the National Park Service and Secretary of the Interior to build a bridge across the Belfort River east of the monument and build a road to the area, since the automobile was becoming more popular. And in 1915, he requested funds again to build a road to the tower. In 1916, on July 4th, a picnic was held at the monument where over 500 people attended. But to reach the tower, the visitors had to hike 1.5 miles on a trail that was washed out and filled with logs to reach the tower.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, no, it would not be fun. And 153 people there signed a petition and sent it to Congress. And finally, in 1917, the National Park Service, with the assistance of Crook County, built a road. However, they did not build the bridge.
So how are they supposed to cross the river?
So in many instances, the river had unpredictable rises, causing people to become stranded and had to camp where they were, sometimes for several nights, until the water subsided. And in 1923, a petition containing 7 pages of signatures from the people of Wyoming and South Dakota were submitted to the Secretary of the Interior, asking that the Belfort near the monument be bridged. It was not until 1928 that the bridge was built.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. But since there was such minimal money being put towards the maintenance and necessary things that the road had, that the road became so bad that people had to turn around instead of even seeing it. Like, they couldn't even make it all the way there.
Oh my gosh.
So even though there were challenges reaching the tower, the visitors' numbers still rose from in the early 20s being 7,000 to 1930 being over 14,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And with local newspapers and such giving the tower wide publicity as one of the natural wonders of the world, which I think is so cute.
I love that.
And the decade of the 1930s was one of the extensive development times for the monument. A highway running through the Black Hills in South Dakota, Highway 14, came within a few miles of the monument while passing through to Gillette. As we know, the Great Depression came in the 30s, and to try and solve the unemployment crisis across the country, Agencies for Public Works was created. The CCC.
We love the CCC.
Or the Civilian Conservation Corps. So in 1935 to 1938, a CCC camp was located here, where they built new roads, modern water and electrical systems were installed, trails, picnic areas, and camping area for visitors, as well with residences for employees, workshops, and a machine shop was erected. And this part's really cool. In 1938, a museum of sturdy log construction was completed that still serves as a visitor center today. It also is used for book sales outlet and the registration office for rock climbers. The result of the improved roads and visitor facilities at the monument is reflected in the travel records. During the 10-year period from 1931 to 1941, despite the Great Depression, the number of visitors practically tripled.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they went from like times 3 of 14,000. Like they were reaching them. So in the early 1930s, the first full-time custodian was stationed at the monument, which at first when I read this in the 1956 book, I was like, why is it so crazy that a custodian worked here? Okay, but wait until you hear this. Okay. So in the 1930s, a custodian referred to the top official responsible for managing and protecting the national monuments and smaller remote sites. So basically, it's a park superintendent.
Oh,
They just called them park
custodians.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
But George C. Crow, who had previously been a ranger naturalist, which was a ranger interpreter, that focused on guiding visitors through the park, on guided hikes and museum works at Yosemite National Park, and an assistant park naturalist at Yellowstone National Park, was the first full-time custodian. And Newell Joyner, who earlier had been service at Yellowstone as a ranger and naturalist, succeeded Crow as the custodian. And erosion had already been an issue with the heavy runoff from the rolling hills around the tower and overgrazing of domestic stock around the tower. But the CCC worked to add vegetation to try and fix this, but custodian Newell Joyner regularly fought against the erosive forces of the Belle Fourche River. And in the early 1930s, he was constantly trying to improve the bridge to secure it against the river's onslaught. And as Joyner knew well, the war against erosion is unrelenting at the monument, apparently, which I never would have thought of, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I just have never thought about the erosion of Devil's Tower National Park.
I guess I didn't really...
But during this time, the Pioneers Picnic began, which is an event that in 1932, the Northern Black Pioneers Association began that sponsors a program in June that features speakers, music, and contests. And I did not realize this was like a huge gathering place for people in the Black Hills. I was like, that's actually really cool.
I love that so much.
For like 4th of July and for the Northern Black Hills Pioneer Picnic. Yeah,
4th of July.
I'd be. In the late 1930s, professional mountain climbers gave their attention to Devil's Tower. Many have reached the top with the use of Roger's ladder, as we learned about, but no one had reached the top without it. And in 1937, with the approval of the National Park Service, 3 members of the American Alpine Club of New York City made the first ascent with rock climbing techniques led by Fritz Wiesner. They reached the top in 4 hours and 46 minutes. This party made many scientific observations and brought down samples of the rocks as well as the vegetation found there.
Oh, okay.
So 11 years later, 16 members of the Iowa Mountain Climbers Club.
Iowa Mountain?
Yeah, you'll love this part. They hoisted bedding and food up there and spent the night. Which they wouldn't let you do now. I'm not sure if it was legal then. I just read that in the book.
That would totally be something you and I do, though.
The climbs during this time were made on the southeast side of the tower by 3 different climbing routes. And in 1955, James McCarthy and John Rupley made the first ascent on the west side.
Well, I wonder what's... Like, I know... What did I say? It was like the south and the west side were more eroded.
I think so.
So I wonder how much different that is for climbing. I wonder how much different that makes it for climbing.
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
There's a lot of routes on this, and I'll get into that later. But
sounds good.
In the fall of 1941, the tower made the headlines of the nation's leading newspapers because of a professional parachutist named George Hopkins. Within a few months, the United States entered World War II, and travel was not encouraged to the National Park Service unless you were a member of the armed forces, making this a low time for visitors at the monument.
Why?
Well, because a lot of the efforts were going towards the war. A lot of the people were either working in factories and stuff for the war, or they were deployed for the war. An increased visitation of more than tripling following World War II brought a critical need for additional facilities, which we've learned about more. But okay, so this problem, as we know, was not unique to the monument as it extended across the Park Service sites. Assuming that this travel will continue to increase in the next decades, as it has in the past, the director in 1955 launched Mission 66, which we learned about in Yellowstone National Park. I just love that it all connects.
I know.
It's my favorite.
I know. Me too.
And it's so cool to learn about the same things that happen across all of them in different parks.
Yeah.
It's different. I don't know. But a project for the National Park Service was to meet the travel needs of the nation in the year 1966, which is the golden anniversary that the agency of the National Park Service began, because it began in 1916, if you didn't know that. And then in 1980, it was the 10,000th ascent of the tower, and the National Park Service continued to shift towards clean climbing ethics, and the management focused on balancing recreation with environmental protection at that time. Many tribes consider the tower sacred, and climbing the tower to be desecration of their holy site. The many climber who scale the tower disturb nesting raptors, compromise the integrity of the rock, and affect its soil vegetation and natural physical appearance. To address some of these issues, in the 1990s, the rise of the sport climbing in the park, the Devil's Tower Climbing Management Plan began, created in 1995, established the voluntary closure in June for spiritual importance to indigenous tribes. And
That's cool.
yeah, and it has been implemented since June of 19, and there has been an 85% reduction in climbing in June. I actually looked up why specifically in June.
Yeah.
And it was just because they had more sacred ceremonies in June.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, but when we were, what is the lake in Canada? Sweatshirt and boat ride.
Moline
Spirit Island. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember.
Sweatshirt and Spirit
I'm
Island.
just imagining the
Yeah.
sweatshirt from Moline.
No, that's
Yeah.
Moline Lake, yeah.
But I don't know if you remember, but the boat guide on that boat tour said that their indigenous ceremony for Spirit Island was in June too. And wow.
Interesting.
I haven't looked into all that, but I just know that that's why, because I thought, why June?
Yeah.
But so there has been an 85% reduction in climbing in June. Since it's a voluntary closure, they can't stop people from doing it, but it is more respectable thing to not climb during June.
Yeah.
But most climbing guides who operate in the park don't bring people to the tower in June. And there are a few other options that they propose for climbers in the area, such as Mount Rushmore Needles, Custer State Park, Spearfish Canyon in South Dakota, Ten Sleep Canyon, and Tongue River Canyon in Wyoming. But climbing the tower can physically affect it as a geological feature as well. And so by 1996, the recreationalists had embedded approximately 600 metal bolts in the rock face, along with several hundred metal pitons. So I don't know if you remember the Craig DiMartino episode where we talked about how they would put in their own gear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's why there were 600 metal bolts, because a lot of climbers want to put in their own gear because that's a more challenging way of climbing, I think. And so
wow.
As of 2008, the tower had about 220 named routes to get to the top. About 5,000 climbers per year were climbing damaging rocks, but contemporary climbing methods have little impact on it. And I think contemporary climbing is with the fixed routes, so the hardware is in the rock already and you're not placing your own equipment. The climbing management plan prohibited the placement of new bolts in fixed pitons. It did, however, allow the replacement of existing bolts in fixed pitons as required for safety.
Okay.
So you can only use certain climbing routes now, and you can't put in your own equipment since 1996, I believe it was. But that actually makes a lot of sense.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's like, if this rock is already, because there's a part later where it talks about some parts falling, you probably don't want to be sticking hundreds of metal anchors into it.
Yeah, that might be a little sketchy.
Yeah. And then also in this climbing management plan, the NPS identifies nesting sites in the spring and climbing routes within view or within 50 meters or about 160 feet on either side of the nest for these birds. Close these routes for the remainder of the nesting season. Yeah. And the plan also sought to rehabilitate access and summit trails and repair the damage that climbers had on the soil and vegetation over the years. But the park administrators expressed some concern about a column known as the leaning column on the first pitch of the Durance route, which is one of the most popular routes on the tower that sees about 1,100 climbers each year. And in 2004, a tower guide had observed that the column was moving and reported it. And in June of 2005, the USGS studied the column to assess the character of the column and determined that this 26-foot-long, 40-ton column was a potential hazard. And so geologists estimated that the column could remain in place for a couple years or up to hundreds of years. I was like,
such a large difference.
It is. But if the present column failed, it would topple into the large flat bench below and could injure any climber or hiker nearby.
Yeah.
It also has the potential to destabilize other columns or rocks in its path. But thankfully, Devil's Tower National Monument climbing rangers monitor leading columns for evidence of failures such as fresh phonolite rock surfaces, and they keep a photographic record of any changes that they see on or around the column. And park staff have also painted the surface of the column to be more readily observable for any changes.
That's smart.
It is smart. And then the last part of human history that I have is called the Circle of Sacred Smoke. It's also known as the Wind Circle, and it was created by, I might say this name wrong, Junkyu Muto. It was installed in 2008. It symbolizes peace and the connection, showing that the first puff of smoke from a lit pipe. I'm not sure why that is a symbolization for connection, but maybe because it's a circle. I don't know, but it's called Circle of Smoke. So
Okay.
but it's basically just this cool sculpture that looks like a smoke ring. That's just at a very picturesque spot of where you can see it and it looks beautiful, but also it's a great spot to see the monument.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. But it was put there to promote world peace and acknowledge the deep spiritual importance of Devil's Tower. And it is located at the base of the tower near Bell Forge Campground and Picnic Grounds. It is the third of the 7 planted works by Muto globally, following his installation in India and Vatican City.
That's kind of cool.
He's like big deal.
Yeah. I mean, if he's got work in the Vatican, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah.
Your first retention question.
Okay.
How well was Michaela listening? How many of the Native American tribes' oral histories did I say included bison?
What? You didn't even say anything. None included bison. Well, one of them. No, okay, wait. I remember one of them did because the little girl had to grab the end piece. What was the other one?
The other one was the bison skull.
The bison skull.
They say still on top.
Oh.
Okay.
That was like minor detail.
What year was the bridge finally built over the Bell Forge River?
This multiple choice?
No,
No,
I made it multiple choice.
It was 1926.
So close, 1928.
Dang it!
I'll give you half a point for that. That's cool. Okay. Who was the man who first climbed the tower? I have 2 answers I will accept.
I don't remember his name. I don't remember his name, but he built the thing, the ladder, and then his wife climbed it 2 years later.
So that's William Rogers, or I would have accepted Fritz Wiesner since he was
no way I was
the
going to remember
rock
any
climbing.
names.
Since he was the rock. Well, because Rogers Ladder. I said Rogers Ladder like 4 more times. I figured you'd find out. That's true. Roger, but
something Roger.
Roger.
Roger. Do we name a cat Roger?
We definitely. Roger.
All right. So now we'll get into some fun animals. Some of the animals that call Devil's Tower home are prairie dogs. There's 11 different species of bats. White-tailed deer, mule deer, coyotes, red and gray foxes, bobcats, sometimes mountain lions.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And then over 160 species of birds.
Wow.
Yeah. And then also, even though all those like indigenous stories have bears in them, there's actually no bears.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
There's like no bears in the area.
Well, but I think there were bears in the area.
Like very,
a long time
ago.
Like hundreds of years ago.
Yeah.
There were bears there. But yeah, there aren't.
Not anymore.
In the animal podcast that I was listening to, they were just talking about how grizzly bears are actually plains animals. So they would live in the plains of the valleys, but us people push them into the forests.
Really?
And that's in Alaska and stuff. You'll see more in like plains. You know, and that's why they have that hump, because they would dig. You know, we know that they would dig. And so that makes more sense in the valleys, in the plains of the mountains than. Yeah. Wow, that's really cool. Because if you think about it, they actually would have been. That's where they would have lived. Yeah, because it's not in the mountains, but it's right
outside the mountains, and it's in a plains area. Yeah, it's interesting.
I know. I thought, wow, I can't believe I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's crazy. Interesting. But some of the bats live in the like tower itself, and then like they roost in the cracks and the fissures, and then some live in the boulder field at the base of the tower because it provides a cool and dark place.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
That is interesting.
And then some others live in the forest, which is a good place for foraging for them. Something that's really big there and like just all over the US right now is white nose syndrome, or WNS. So bats across the country are suffering from WNS. It's a fungal disease that affects them during hibernation, and it causes them to wake up early or more frequently, which means they're using the stored energy that they have already stored to survive through the winter. So a lot of them will die when they like if they keep waking up during the hibernation.
I do know that if you go to the caves in the national park system and other things, you can't wear clothes that you wore in other caves because somehow you can spread diseases. No matter how many times you wash the clothes or if it was a year ago, it doesn't matter.
Really?
I remember learning that for Great Basin and I think for Carlsbad Cabins too.
I didn't know that. That's really
I don't remember.
interesting.
There's one cave that has a more of an infestation of that disease, I think, than the other ones. But all the caves can have it, so they try not to intermingle so you don't.
I suppose.
But it can live on your clothes.
That's weird.
Yeah, and it doesn't affect humans at all.
No, it doesn't affect humans.
But I just wanted to throw that out there. So
yeah,
make sure you don't wear the same clothes in the cave.
Apparently.
Place.
Yeah. Yeah. So it doesn't affect humans directly, but there is an indirect effect. Bats can actually eat their weight in insects each night, which I thought was kind of cool.
I like bats for that.
Me too. Their favorite bugs includes ones that destroy crops. And so they're essentially great at pest control. And they help protect
even
crops.
Cooler. I did not know that.
Which puts their value at like billions of dollars. That's literally what the national park website had like said. It was like
Except
billions of dollars.
Even though most farmers nowadays just spray their food with horrible pesticides instead of
But
I was gonna say, is it really worth billions of dollars if we're also eating the trash
that they put on
spray on it? Yeah. I would rather have bats take care of my insects.
Right. But the northern long-eared bat has experienced a severe impact from WNS, and they're currently listed as a federally threatened species. Park biologists are studying this species and their habitat as part of the battle against WNS, and as this species declines across North America. But Devil's Tower uses some of their funding to educate climbers and just the general public on the threat and the importance of WNS, and then like protecting the bats and their habitat, which I thought was really cool.
It's really cool. You know what would be really cool if we went on a ranger-led tour to any of these places,
right?
And then they ask a question or something, and we're just like,
oh, I know the answer.
I know everything. I did hours of research on this specific park.
No, we would be like the teacher's pet of
Let me be an honorary junior ranger.
Yes.
I don't really want to go on a ranger tour now, just so we can answer all the questions first.
Or we could ask like educated questions, and they'll be like, "What?" Like thrown off a little bit on that.
I heard that in 2002, the species went extinct, and then they were reintroduced in 2004. And what are they at now? Because I know that in 2006 the population was 80. So, what is the current population? Because the NPS website doesn't say.
It hasn't been updated.
I mean, what are you guys doing? I'm just kidding. I wouldn't say that, but because I know what they're doing.
Yeah,
they're doing good.
They're doing good, important stuff.
But I would feel bad answering all the questions, so I wouldn't. We would just whisper.
But we would just whisper,
like, hey, I know the answer.
Like anyway, deer are the most common large animals seen at Devil's Tower, and can be seen near the park road or the Tower Trail, along with a few other hikes. And then the black-footed ferret, as you might remember.
Shep, the famous dog Shep.
Yes.
Who saved the entire species of the black-footed ferret. Yes. That was the species I was thinking of when I was just talking about how I would ask a ranger that question, because their population on the website is from 2008. Yeah. No shade on the rangers. But I'm just curious to know the population today. Yeah.
But so Devil's Tower is another one of their locations where they're trying to like reintroduce that. Primary site is the Badlands, but Devil's Tower is another one of their sites, which I thought was really cool.
That is really cool.
Especially because that's something we've already talked about. And so it's like,
look at these connected dots.
I love them. And then you can also see bison around the park, but not in it. They are part of private ranches, so they're not part of like a park herd.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought that was pretty cool, just because.
Maybe when you drive in.
Yeah. And then the Belforce River supports many kinds of fish and other walleye. And then there are also remnants of ancient sea life, like fossilized oysters, clams, mollusks, crinoids, and then more can be found around rocks, like in the monument, which that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, my questions. Okay. How big is the prairie dog town that's in Devil's Tower? 30 acres, 35 acres,
Why are these so close together?
40 acres, or 45.
I try and use deductive reasoning on these on these questions. It's like 200 square miles. I'm gonna guess 40.
You're right. It's
Oh
like
my gosh.
between 40 and 42 acres.
Okay.
And it's home to around 600 prairie dogs, making it a crucial part in the ecosystem. And you can see the town on the South Side Trail or on the Valley View Trail. And then, so this park also has short-horned lizards. Yeah. Or like, have you ever heard, like what are they called? Like horned toads?
Oh, yeah.
Toads?
I've heard of
I think
those.
there's another name for it. They're not toads.
Okay,
It's the
sure.
short-horned lizard.
Okay.
Is what it is. But they have a really weird talent. What is that?
Ooh.
They can shoot blood out of their eyes. They have similar toe pads as geckos. They can shoot venom from glands on their face, or they can jump up to 6 feet far.
I don't know why I thought it was shooting something out of your eye as soon as you said it, but then you said shooting venom out of their face, and I was like, oh, well, you gave me two shooting things.
Sorry.
I'm gonna shoot blood out of their eyes. I don't know why. I don't know why.
They can shoot blood out of their eyes.
I thought I've heard that before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now we'll get into some trip planning.
Yeah.
I would say you could see this park in a day.
I would agree.
I think if you spend a full day there, you'd have a great day.
Yeah. For sure.
Because you could do the walk around the monument.
You could do a couple of the hikes. You could drive around it.
You could do a ranger tour. Even if I feel like half a day is too short.
I would spend a day
is-
there just so you're not rushed, and then you can go see the prairie dog towns. You can go see the Belforth River.
I would want
like,
to see the sunrise or sunset there.
Yeah, I agree.
Gorgeous.
Yeah,
Just exploring that. Maybe going to town. Maybe go
Yeah.
on a ranger tour or
yeah.
learn something. Go
Just
to the
spend
ranger
the day
station.
not being rushed. It's not a terribly busy park, so
They do actually get quite a few visitors for a monument, though.
yeah.
For a national monument,
monument,
it was
yeah.
higher. Compared to
Sure.
national parks, it's not quite as high as national parks.
Yeah.
But, and it's also smaller than most national
Yeah.
national parks. But
Yeah.
I think okay, so half a day if you're driving through the area to a day, I think would be a good amount of time because you could definitely see it in half a day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give yourself 4 hours there. Maybe you do an evening there.
Yep.
You do the hike around the base. You see the sunset. You see the prairie dog towns.
Yeah.
See the circle of smoke.
Yeah.
A few things like that.
For sure. And then we'll get into like how to get there, some lodging. We stay at campgrounds. If you guys have watched our show before, you know that we stay at campgrounds and that we drive there. There are no lodges inside the park. There are a couple outside the park. There is Devil's Tower Lodge. That's just outside of it.
And then Devil's Tower KOA, which offers cabins and camping just outside the monument entrance as well. And then there are other hotels or motels nearby in Hullet, Sundance, and Moorcraft. And then there is one campground inside the park, and that is the Belforge River Campground. And it is operated seasonally on a first-come, first-served basis. But it would be a great spot to camp. The Belforge River Campground is near other things in the park,
Yeah.
like the Circle of Smoke.
Yep.
It's by trails, which we'll get into in a little bit. But
Yep. And then some campgrounds outside of the park. These are all east, about half an hour or so. There's Cook Lake Recreation Area, Rooter Campground, and Sundance.
And then the hours of operation for the visitor center is 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in the summer, 9 a.m. to 4 to 5 p.m. in the off season. It depends.
Mhm.
And then they're closed holidays, and the monument grounds are open 24/7.
When to go? So in the spring, which is like April, May, there's wildflowers, fewer people. There's still potential for like a late snow, especially in April. And then climbing is possible to avoid June's voluntary closure.
And then in the summer is June through August with warm temperatures and lush greenery. But it is especially busy midday in the summer. And there is a voluntary climbing closure in June, as we've talked about. Just keep that in mind.
September to October, there's cooler temperatures. You get the pretty autumn colors and fewer people.
And then in the winter, it's cold and snowy with ice and snow-covered paths requiring micro spikes and snowshoes with very few visitors. And the closures in the winter, the main park road is typically open, weather permitting, but sometimes can be closed. And the campground is closed for the season, as well as the visitor center having limited hours.
Yeah. Some fun things to do in the area. You can go to Devil's Tower Trading Post. They have seasonal food, snacks, and supplies in the entrance.
They also have a gift shop
Yeah.
and it's really gorgeous because the trading post sign sits like
Oh,
it
it's so
sits
cool.
right below where the monument is standing
So it's
up on a
like-
hill.
Yeah.
And there's an American flag in there somehow, I
It's
think,
so we have a picture, and that is just one of the coolest pictures.
of a building
Yeah.
that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, well, because it's just it says Devil's Tower Trading Post, and then you can see Devil's Tower in the background.
And there's an
this
American flag
in there.
and it
Oh,
looks
it's
very
so
cool.
yeah.
I like it a lot.
Me too. It reminds me of the picture of the Tetons
With the American.
with the American flag. Oh, that's one of my favorite pictures. That was such a good one.
And then you can also rock climb, as we've talked about. Climbers must register with the ranger before starting their climb. Be prepared for sudden storms. Always carry rain gear and a flashlight. Rock falls are common, so you must wear a helmet.
Yep.
So that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And ask a ranger for safety and climbing information. You should definitely have previous experience if you're rock climbing here, but it is permitted April through October with the voluntary closure.
And then you can bike on the paved roads in the park, but not on the hiking trails. So if you're into biking, you still can. You just can't bike on the trails.
And then you can view wildlife on the Tower Trail for deer, squirrels, and birds. And then the county surrounding Devil's Tower gives the opportunity to see elk, moose, wild turkey, and prairie dogs.
Yeah. And then if you're more into the scenic drive type of person, you can drive the park road for a different different perspectives of the monument.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah, we liked it.
Yeah, and you actually were climbing up for sure.
Yeah.
It felt really cool. I don't know. I just like
yeah. I don't dramatic's not the right word for it, but it was like I don't know. It was just really interesting.
It
to
was.
drive around it.
It reminded me of the feeling when we were driving the Needles Highway. I don't know why,
Yes.
but
I agree.
it did. It just
felt
gave me the, it
very,
gives you a Black Hills vibe. It is in the Black Hills,
It is,
but
yeah.
it really
But-
feels like it.
I don't know what other word to use other than it just felt very like oh I
Just
don't know.
like that.
Yeah, kinda.
And then there are ranger programs that run Memorial to Labor Day, and check out the Junior Ranger packet year round. So they have
Yeah.
a Junior Ranger badge you can get at the National Monument.
Also stargazing is great in this area.
Amazing dark sky park.
And then yeah, for sure. And then in the winter, they do allow like snowshoeing and cross country skiing.
And then some hiking recommendations. Remember, do your own research before going on hikes. Look on the National Park website. Look on other hiking apps like All Trails.
Mm-hmm.
And make sure you have paper maps of your trail just in case this technology fails. And
It does.
also, ask a ranger about trail conditions before you go, especially on any longer hikes. And you can also ask them for a recommendation. This park only has 5 trails, but you can interconnect them, loop them together, things like that. So
Yeah.
also, so Devil's Tower Trail is a 1.6 mile loop with 164 feet of elevation gain. Enjoy a walk around the base of one of the most unique geologic formations in the world. Learn about the natural and cultural history of Devil's Tower National Monument, from theories about how it formed to the connections modern tribes maintain with the site today. The start of the trail has a steep grade of 12% in a few other sections, so make sure to know your limits. But I believe this is the trail too, that why it says why you can learn on the trail is because it has informational signs.
Yeah. I love those signs.
Yeah, it's very cool.
I love all the signs. And then there's Red Beds Trail. If you're looking for a more traditional hiking experience in the park, check out this 2.8-mile loop around the tower. Take in the sights of the tower from different angles and enjoy the beauty of the Belforce River Valley as you climb up and down between the visitor center parking lot and the river valley. Experience the geology and the park up close. You can escape the crowds on the tower trail and take in the sweeping vistas of the park and surrounding land. This trail has minimal shade, so be sure to wear appropriate clothing and bring plenty of water.
And then the South Side Trail offers an easy stroll through the prairie dog town, or as a convenient connector to other parts of the park in the trails. So catch the trail from the park amphitheater, Red Beds Trail, or Prairie Dog Town pullouts. South Side Trail is a great way to reach the visitor center from the picnic area and campground, allowing you to skip the visitor center parking lot crowds. It's a good way to get out and stretch your legs to get there. It is 0.6 miles one way and connects to the Valley View Trail and Red Beds Trail.
And then there's the Joyner Ridge Trail, which provides the space and serenity to enjoy nature without the crowds. Visit a quieter part of Devil's Tower by hiking the 1.5-mile Joyner Ridge Trail. Take in the scenic views of the tower, or visit at night to stargaze in the secluded northern part of the park. You can experience this trail in spring to spot blooming wildflowers along the trail's edge.
And then the last of the 5 is the Valley View Trail. Take a stroll through the prairie dog town with scenic views of the Belforge River and Devil's Tower. And the Valley View Trail is relatively level and short, perfect for kids or a quick leg stretch. Valley View Trail can also be used to connect the campground or picnic area to other parts of the park. It is 0.6 miles one way and connects to the South Side Trail. What would you do for a perfect day in the park?
I think I would. Okay, wait. I'm just trying to think. Sun rises in the east,
Sets in the west.
sets in the west. I would want to be there. For sunset. I'm gonna say sunset. And then, I would go in. I would do a couple hikes in the morning, but like late morning, I think.
Yeah.
And then,
What time of year would you go? I'm asking the hard-hitting questions now.
Well, I just don't like this on the spot thing. Because I need to weigh all my options. I think I would go in June, or September would be cool because
But in June you couldn't see the
climbers. I know, that's what I was just thinking. I was like, well, I wouldn't. It's cool. I think it'd be cool.
And
to
it's like
sit
there's a
with
lot of
the
baby
climbers
animals
on
that
it.
you see
Yeah,
in June.
but it would also be cool to see with the climbers on it. So maybe like May or June, I think, because I think like late May, would hopefully be nice enough. And then there's not a ton of animals in the park, but you can see like little baby deer. I'll do a couple hikes, go see the river, see the prairie dog town. Obviously, hit the visitor center. Have a snack at the outpost, yeah. And then watch the sunset. I don't know from where though.
I think I'd watch it from somewhere
Far away.
Yeah,
like
not
from
right.
a distance where I could
kind of by the campground maybe
or
or the picnic area, because it's far enough away I think where you can see the tower and still get somewhere where you could see maybe the tower and the river.
But I
that
think
would be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah. What's your perfect day?
I think my perfect day would be pretty similar. I think I would go in probably September for sure because I'm thinking I like great trees, but I also like and there's no waterfalls you're seeing there.
That's true.
And but I like when a couple of trees peek out into different colors. I think that's really fun.
Yeah.
So I would go in probably early to mid-September. Not that there's many crowds, but then if there are crowds midday, like in the summer, you would miss that. So I would, again, probably go, I would start my day, probably middle of the day there.
Yeah.
11. Go to the visitor center, get my junior ranger book.
True.
Go to the picnic area and do my junior ranger book outside there. And you just have time to do that, eat lunch there. And then in the afternoon, I'd go on a couple later afternoon hikes, and then I would maybe look at some prairie dogs and watch the sunset. See the circle of smoke. I think that would be cool. Yeah, for sure. Do the loop around the tower. The tower. I think
it's all like the informational stuff. Yeah.
So the close-up loop, and then I think the farther loop that goes around where you loop two trails together. I think I would do.
I think I would want to loop
a couple together.
Yeah.
All the hikes together.
And then watch sunset there and hit the trading post on the way out if it's open. Or hit it on the way in before the visitor center.
That's true.
Take a look at their gift shop. Maybe get a snack for my hikes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hit it on the way in. Yeah, I think that'd be my day there.
Yeah, that's a good day.
Thanks. Any day there is really
good.
But, okay. So I thought this would be kind of a fun way to, I was going to say, do you have a coin? Definitely not on you.
Nope.
Okay, I'm going to,
let me take the tab off and we'll go, is one of the sides green? And one of the sides is silver.
Okay.
Okay.
So let's say that Devil's Tower is green and Mount Rushmore is silver because they're both national monuments. Michaela and I are going to argue with each other for 60 seconds about which one is better. We each have 60 seconds to make our case. We learned about both of them. We learned about this one more recently, but
so wait, who am I flipping for?
You flip, and I'm going to pick Devil's Tower just because I just learned about it. So flip, and if it's green, I get Devil's Tower. If it's silver, you get it. Shoot.
It's green, you get it.
Okay. Do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
I want you to start.
Okay. Well, then I can't rebuttal. How about we do 30
Well, I know, but then I was like, well, then I can't rebuttal.
How about we do 30 seconds each back and forth?
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
So we do 0 minutes and 30 seconds.
I'm so scared right now.
Oh my gosh. We're not going to be able to get any words out in 30 seconds.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
So you should go to Devil's Tower National Monument because it is a really cool place with a lot of indigenous history where you get to learn the different stories about why each different tribe thinks that it's created in a different, unique way that it's just fascinating. You'd also get to see a gorgeous river and a bridge that took like 70 years to get approved actually built over it. You'd also get to see, or maybe you get to see 11 different kinds of bats. You get to see these really cool, what are those column things called? I forgot, doesn't matter. You get to see these really cool straight columns. That was so quick. We should have done a minute each. We should have not, because
okay. I'm just, let me get situated. Oh, sorry. I just blocked everybody.
That's okay.
Okay.
You just take a
Let
second.
me get situated like you did. I need to.
Yeah. I'm trying to convince you, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to convince you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm going to use my hands to talk, so
I know I do that too.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so you need to go to Mount Rushmore because, one, historical, just the history behind it is insane. You get to see faces carved into rocks. You can learn about how, like, if you go at night, you can see the really cool, the flags and the light ups, and that's so cool. And then
the
flag ceremony, that's what I was talking about. And then just everything around the area, everything around the area is so cool. So you have so many options, you will never get bored.
Okay, so now we each have 30 seconds for closing arguments. Right? And so to finish, you can see these really cool columns that are super unique to this one specific rock. And then you could also rock climb this if you wanted to. You can also go camping there because there's a campground inside the park. And let me say, I know that Mount Rushmore is very historically significant to our country, but this place, the beauty, the nature, you get to see history there too. And let me say, I'd rather stare at Devil's Tower National Monument at sunset and all day, I think, than Mount Rushmore because different views. More hiking trails.
Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. Okay, so Mount Rushmore, I understand that, maybe there's not a ton of hiking opportunities, but there is some. And then there's also ways that you can get up closer to the rock faces. So you could take a helicopter ride out there. Like, that would be so cool. I know we're not rich, but it would be so cool. And then just, the impact it had on everybody. And then you can learn about the history of the rock, like the indigenous history behind the rock itself before it became Mount Rushmore and why it became what it did and all the things. Oh gosh, I was so stressed. Don't listen to me. That was so terrible.
Do you think if people listen to that? Yeah, I don't think we did great, but I think we made some points. I don't think we sold either of them very well.
I don't think so either. I know I'm missing things.
I know, me too. But I think it was kind of fun to argue places against each other.
Yeah. and try and think of
Well,
everything
honestly,
in
I
the park.
don't think we really argued any place against it. We were just both kind of hyping up our own
That's
thing.
so true.
So I
So
think
next time we should take 30 seconds to
should-
say this place sucks because of this. Even though we
No.
don't think
But
it sucks.
But I think we should come up with like certain like specific topic. Well, this place has
The best
this.
restaurants or the best
This place
campgrounds.
has
But that is
yeah.
one reason why I said you can camp right in the park.
Yeah.
But I just thought that might be
Mount Rushmore doesn't have really any camping or really much hiking. That really, it's kind of just like
it's a very patriotic. Like it's more of a it's a monument.
Yeah.
But I mean, Devil's Tower also doesn't have that much hiking. It has more.
Yeah.
But compared to a national park,
it's got like nothing compared to a national park.
So it's just an idea that I thought it might be fun to, maybe go back and forth a little bit. I would visit both.
I think it'll be easier to do with national parks.
That's probably a good point. I thought of it now, so I started it now. But
no, and I think that's just fine.
Let me see. I think if you're going to visit one, you should visit both. A perfect 2 days in the Black Hills would be amazing. So you should hit both up and just spend a week in the Black Hills.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, you really
could do so much in a week in the Black Hills.
Yeah, you really could. And then also I found a few really funny news headlines from researching this, and I wanted to share them.
Oh my gosh.
Parachute is stuck on Devil's Tower. Told you I'd make it. Now how do I get down? George Hopkins, jump 1941. And then Devil's Tower. It's not a giant corn cob, says NPS. And then, wait. Devil's Tower, still waiting for those mashed potato aliens. But get your own rope. Because apparently in a movie, what movie was it? They were building a Devil's Tower monument with mashed potatoes.
What?
It was in a movie.
Wait,
like a movie we've seen as kids. Like as kids.
Is it Area 51? Oh, but I do know what you're talking. I don't think it's Area 51. I actually just watched that the other day.
Not with a national monument, with mashed potatoes.
The mashed potatoes.
Close Encounters.
Okay.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And then apparently people compare Devil's Tower to a corn cob and mashed potatoes all the time.
Okay, corn cob, I can understand more than mashed potatoes.
I don't get corn cob either, though.
Oh, I don't get it.
Because the corn cob looks different than Devil's Tower.
Well, but I get, like, the column part. Because it's got, like...
I get it sticks up out of the ground, kind of out of nowhere. But corn doesn't do that.
No, I'm saying, like the... It's got columns, like corn cob.
I don't know.
I don't know why.
I guess I can't.
Only logical.
Okay, I was gonna say I can't logistically make any reason of why.
That is the only semi-logistical reason I can think of. Mashed potatoes? That makes negative sense.
Well, it's because of the movie. That's why that was a headline. I guess. But yes, I get what you're saying. It doesn't. I don't think it looks like food.
No,
I think it looks like rocks.
Big rock.
Yeah.
It's like a big rock.
It does look like a big rock.
I like big rocks.
Yeah. I like that big rock.
Yeah.
And then, this was a cool question, but do you think it's a tourist trap or a true beauty? You know how some things are
yeah. I definitely think it's true beauty.
Me too. I agree. But
you know what is a tourist trap?
What?
Gateway Arch.
When we go to the southeastern side of the country, I feel as though when we're driving there, it might just be 4 hours of McKellis. Why are we even going here? Right? Because that's where it is, St. Louis, Missouri. Yeah. Is it in Missouri? Hey, people probably think the same thing about Minnesota, okay? It's not like one of the cool outdoorsy ones. Yes, we have lakes, but so does Wisconsin. Also, I want to put this to bed right now. Wisconsin does not have more lakes than Minnesota.
No, it does not.
Do you want to know what Wisconsin does? They classify their lakes as smaller. So Minnesota, your lake has to be at least 10 acres. And Wisconsin is like an acre and it's a lake.
That's called a puddle, pal.
But there's online, if you Google it, it says, oh yeah, Wisconsin has more lakes than Minnesota. No, this state just classified them differently. We have higher standards for our lakes over here, okay?
You just lowered the bar.
Yeah, so that's why people think you have more and you actually don't. I will say, though, I really do love Wisconsin. Northern Wisconsin is really gorgeous.
Oh, well, yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying, you don't have more lakes than us.
No.
I don't know where that came from. We're feeling feisty.
We are. We are.
We are feisty about some maybe we shouldn't argue. We shouldn't do a park off.
I think it's kind of fun though.
I know, but it really gets us fired
I
up.
like the feistiness though. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, should we do a park off at the beginning of an episode and see what happens?
Dude, could you imagine us doing a park op with Grand Teton and any other park? Whoever has Grand Teton would automatically win. Honestly, you could literally just waste your whole minute of talking on Grand Teton just to say, it's Grand Teton. That's the argument.
And then just let the rest.
Just some fun honorable mentions.
We have the Black Hills National Forest.
Yes. Keelhole Reservoir and State Park. You can actually see Devil's Lake or Devil's Tower across the lake, and it's a good hidden gem.
Custer State Park,
Jewel Cave,
Wind Cave National Park,
Mount Rushmore,
Bighorn National Forest, and the Bighorn Canyon National Recreation Area.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of good spots.
Lots of good spots.
Love it. If you have time, please leave us a review on any of the platforms we're on. Specifically, I would say Spotify and Apple.
Yeah.
It helps us the most.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
If you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can DM us on Instagram. Our handle is Sleeping in Park. Or feel free to email us. Our email is sleepingandpark25@gmail.com.
I just want to shout something out. I haven't even told Michaela this. We made 67 cents off of our Amazon commission from our links back from episode 2 and 3.
What? Someone actually used the link to buy something?
We made 67 cents, buddy. First. This is the first money we have made on this podcast. 67 cents.
Heck yeah! Oh my gosh! That's actually okay. Actually, 67 cents, but that's so cool.
I know, but someone used the link. That's what I'm shouting out. Is whoever used the link. I'm guessing. Thank you for using our link, whoever that was. I hope you're watching this episode. And we want to thank you for our first money.
That's so exciting!
Michaela Argan and I are gonna go buy. What's 67 cents?
We appreciate it.
We do. Thank you.
And that's so exciting. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe it.
Yeah. So, thank you for listening.
Please like, share, and subscribe to
Sleeping in Park.
Wow, that was good timing.